What's up, guys, and welcome back to Dark Magical Gaming. Today is a brand new day, and we are starting a brand new mini-series, and this series is going to be called Bond Between Teacher and Student, where essentially I'm going to have people message me their deck list and say, hey, Michael, I want some help with my deck. What can I do to make my deck better? What can I change? And things of that nature. So if you want to submit me your deck, I will have a email address updated at the end of this video for you to forward your deck list to, and I will help you out with any kind of advice that you would like, and try to get your deck built to be the best deck that it can be. So our first person to submit, his name is Volrin. I apologize if I butchered your name, but he recently reached out to me on Twitter, and he sent me an email. Let me pull up his email now, and we'll see what he said. He says, hello, I watched many of your videos on YouTube, and I see that you have a lot of experience and knowledge about the Dark Magician deck. I have sent you my real deck. Unfortunately, I don't currently have cash for Magician Souls, but I still have some nice cards for the deck. Would you mind helping me make the deck decent without Magician Souls? I already spent a lot of money on this deck, and I want the deck to at least be decent. Okay, so he has sent me his deck list, and it is here on the screen now. And he wants me to kind of change this deck and make it to be a little more competitively viable. So here's what we're going to do. He has started out by telling me that he does not have access to Magician Souls, and obviously a Dark Magician deck without Magician Souls is going to be more handicapped than a deck that has Magician Souls, obviously. So we are going to edit this deck a couple cards at a time here. So I'm going to go over each individual card and decide what should stay and what should be cut. And we're going to go in a direction for deck building to where we don't necessarily have to have Magician Souls to be able to play Dark Magician and to be able to have success with Dark Magician. So one of the first cards that comes to mind is maxing out on Fusion Deployment, because this is the only card that kind of gives you a similar effect to Magician Souls. But I think we're actually going to go entirely different direction with this, because basically, without souls, we want our main win condition to be able to summon 2 monsters and summon Dragoon and control the game through Dragoon plus trap cards. Cards like Eternal Soul with Dark Magical Circle, and be able to play the game at our tempo. So we're going to go down the line, and we are going to get rid of some cards that do not fit that. And I actually do apologize. For some reason, it only has 1 Magician's Rod in here, and he was playing 3. Okay, so immediately, I think that one of the best staple cards in this deck is going to be Red Eyes Fusion, because obviously, it's going to do what Magician Souls would normally do. It's going to dump Dark Magician, it's going to summon Dragoon, okay? So we're going to build with this in mind, that we want to be able to resolve Red Eyes Fusion as much as we can. So what gets us to Red Eyes Fusion quicker? So obviously, when we don't have access to Magician Souls, we're going to be playing cards like Red Eyes Insight to ensure that we can get to our Dark Magician in our graveyard and get our Dragoon a little bit quicker. So this is going to be a very good card going into this. So basically, if you don't know what Red Eyes Insight does, you send 1 Red Eyes monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, add 1 Red Eyes spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. Except for Red Eyes Insight, you can only activate this card once per turn. So with this, we have to be playing some Red Eyes cards. So I think that for this build, we are going to max out on Red Eyes Black Dragon. We are going to keep 2 copies of Dark Magician. Basically, what we want to be able to do is resolve Red Eyes Fusion as many times as possible. And one of these Red Eyes Black Dragons is pretty much always going to be getting sent off of Insight. You could play Red Eyes Wyvern, but it's technically a brick anyway, in the same way that this card also is. We're going to be using it to do the same principle, just to be able to summon Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. So there's no problem with playing 3 of this card. It is bricky, but this is what the deck is going to be built to do. So if we're building around Red Eyes Fusion, obviously we have some confliction here. We have 6 copies of Red Eyes Fusion, and look, we have other summons that need to be conducted. So we can immediately cut out the 3rd Dark Magician for this build. You're only going to be needing 2, because after you get the first one in your graveyard, you're going to be reviving it after Eternal Soul. You could even get by with just playing 1, but I think 2 is safe. We're going to take out Apprentice Illusion Magician because we don't need the additional extender for this deck since we're building around Red Eyes Fusion. We can also go ahead and cut Magician's Rod. because this build is going to be very spell heavy. And we are going to play a card that you don't see a lot of anymore, Dark Magic Inheritance. This is banish 2 spells from your graveyard, add 1 spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists the card Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl in its text, except Dark Magic Inheritance. So you can kind of see what we're going for here. We're also going to be cutting out these 3. No, I don't want to make that my favorite card. We are going to go and save this in case something happens, though. Cut out these 3 because we don't have access to Magician Souls, so we essentially have no way to put them in the graveyard. Normally, I do like to only play 2 copies of Dark Magical Circle, but since this deck is going to be so straightforward in what it's going to do, I think that we can still play 3. We can also still play the double Eternal Soul, and we'll also keep the Upstart Goblin. And we are obviously going to keep the 3 copies of Soul Servant. And since we're trying to get Red Eyes Fusion to resolve, we're going to go and play the one Called by the Grave for obvious reasons. So now we have to start looking into summons that, even though they conflict with our Red Eyes Fusion package, that their net worth is worth it. So what comes to mind? What makes Dragoon? Essentially, what makes Predaplant Verde Anaconda? The biggest cards are the Sky Striker package. So we're going to cut some cards out of the extra deck here. We're going to play 1 Sky Striker Mobilize Engage. And where's it at? We're going to play 1 Sky Striker Mecha Hornet Drones, 1 Kagari, and 1 Kaina. And let's go ahead here. Get our Link Spider. If you're not familiar with this combo of Volrin, basically what happens is you activate Sky Striker Mobilize Engage, you summon a token, you link your token into Kagari, you use Engage to search your Hornet Drones. You activate your Hornet Drones, and you're going to link your Drones token into Kagari, which will add you back your Hornet Drones. You then link your Kagari into Kaina. You also then activate Hornet Drones again. You will gain 100 life from Kaina. Then you link the final token into Link Spider, and you use those 2 to make Predaplant Verde Anaconda, which we're going to go ahead and put in here. I know he said he didn't have access to Magician Souls, but with this card getting reprinted out of El Dorado, it should make it a little bit easier for him to get a hold of. Okay, so now we have... we essentially have multiple 1-card Dragoons, but we want more lines of play than just spell cards, right? Because we don't want to just get shut out by cards like IO and Anti-Spell. So what else can essentially just make 2 monsters in the field anytime we want? Black Metal Dragon. The first effect's not relevant. You target a Red Eyes monster you control. Equip this monster from your hand or field to that target. It gains 600 attack. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, add 1 Red Eyes card from deck to your hand. So essentially, we're going to do some Dragon Link plays. So basically here, what your combo is going to be is you are going to normal summon Black Metal Dragon. You are going to go ahead and link the Black Metal Dragon into Striker Dragon. And then Black Metal Dragon is going to search you a copy of Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. You will special summon Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon by banishing the Striker Dragon, and then use his effect to revive back the Black Metal Dragon. And then you are going to link these 2 into Predaplant Verde Anaconda. And I do not... This is not a hard once per turn. Does this negate effects? This is a graveyard effect. So then you're going to be able to get Black Metal Dragon's effect again. So what Red Eyes card is going to be worth searching at this point? Because you can't use Red Eyes Fusion. You could potentially get this as a follow-up for the following turn. But what can you get that's going to give you immediate advantage from all this? And that card is going to be Return of the Red Eyes. So what this card does is if you control a Red Eyes monster, which will be our Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, you can target 1 normal monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and then if this card is in your possession is destroyed by opponent's card effects in the graveyard, target a Red Eyes monster in your graveyard, special summon it. So if this card ever is set and they destroy it, you can bring back a Dragoon late game. That can be strong, but this is basically a pseudo Eternal Soul to be able to reborn back Dark Magician to trigger Circle, all off of the Red Eyes engine by itself. So very strong there. The next card is one of my favorite cards. What was his name? Giristu the Orcus Mech Knight is going to be a 3 of in this build here. And the reason being, let me check my notes here. We also are going to be playing 1 Link Karibo. If you're not familiar with Gyarasu the Orcust Mech Knight, it says that this card is normal or special summon. You can send one Orcust or World Legacy card from your deck to the graveyard. Then if there are 2 other monsters in this card's column, treat this card as a tuner this turn. If you control no other monsters, you can special summon one World Legacy token to both players' fields and defense positions. So why is this important? Well, Gyarasu's first effect doesn't specify he can't send himself. So you essentially go normal summon the Gyarasu, activate the effect. If it goes through, you just dump another copy of itself. If it doesn't, you've just baited Ash Blossom for free because you don't care. All you want is the effect to summon the tokens. So you activate the effect, summon a token to both player sides of the field. You link your token into either Link Spider or Link Rebo. I'd probably go for Link Rebo. And then you essentially make a 1-card Verde Anaconda yet again. And this also works in a very similar fashion to Call by the Grave because it's going to force cards like Ash Blossom because people are going to think that you're playing Orcust, especially if you start your combo out with this. They don't want to let Orcust Nightmare get put into rotation. Okay, so now what are we going to do? We can cut Dark Magic attack. We can cut Fusion Deployment. We'll move our Duster to the sideboard. And along with, I guess we could side deck cards like Twin. And we're going to cut Magician's Navigation because we're not essentially trying to get Dark Magician in our hand. We're trying to dump him to the graveyard. And we're going to cut some of the trap cards for now. And we're going to cut Piercing the Darkness, Regeki. We're going to cut Secrets of Dark Magic. And we're also going to cut Magicalized Fusion. Essentially, we want to be able to play every hand with our deck. So you can see our deck is definitely shaping up to be more of a deck with a goal in mind. Since we're not going to play Dark Magician Girl, I'll leave this one up to him. You could play the 1 and the 1 just to be able to have the card that deck thins, or you can just play the 2 Eternal Soul. I'm probably going to go with just playing the double Eternal Soul this time in this build. So we're going to go A to Z. Our deck definitely looks a little unconventional by most Dark Magician deck standards. So what are we missing here? What are we missing? We have multiple cards that just have high power ceilings that we want to be able to draw into. We also can't forget we want to be able to set up our Dark Magic Inheritance. So we're going to go with 3 Allure of Darkness, because you see how many throwaway dark monsters that you have. You have 3 Black Metal, you have 3 Gyarasu, you have double Dark Magician, and you have triple Red Eyes Black Dragon. So this card's pretty much never going to be dead. It's just going to be more food for your Dark Magic Inheritance. We're also going to go with playing a copy of 1 for 1. Just helps us get into our Black Metal Dragon a little bit easier. And what else do we want to play here? I'm checking my notes that I have made here for this deck list. It looks like I still have a card in here that I'm not supposed to have in here.
The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that. What else can we do now? Looking into this deck, what can we do? Our best turn 1 board with what we can end on is going to be Summoning Dragoon. Preferably either through this or through this, and this is going to get us a copy of Return of the Red Eyes, and we want to be able to dig our circle to be able to dig for Eternal Soul or Soul Servant to be able to get to Eternal Soul. But what can we do that gives us an extra layer of protection? Since your deck is going to be built so defensively towards summoning Dark Magician on your opponent's turn, you're going to have multiple ways to be able to get 2 Dark Magician Revival cards, which you don't normally have. I mean, you have Eternal Soul in the regular Dark Magician deck, and you have cards like Magician's Rod in the regular Dark Magician deck, but those cards are normally serving other roles or trying to get your engine rolling, where in this build you have so many 1-card engines that just end on making Dragoon, that I think you can actually play this card as an extra level of protection to be able to back up your Dragoon. So essentially what the game plan for you is going to be is you want to just every turn be able to summon Dragoon. And since you have 3 Red Eyes, this is pretty much never going to be dead. We're going to play a couple copies of Prevalent Verde Anaconda as well. So we still have 2 more slots left. We don't currently have any hand traps in the deck. I think because this deck is going to be so straightforward, I almost think that you don't even need to be playing hand traps in this deck. But I'm going to try to think of what I feel like is the most generic hand trap here. So obviously Crossout Designator is being played in a lot of strategies right now. I have in my notes to play DD Crow, which definitely wouldn't be bad. People aren't really playing that as a cross-out target. So this definitely, I'm going to say that these two slots here could kind of be whatever your local meta scene looks like. You could easily make these, like you could main deck the Duster and the Regeki if you wanted to be able to have that extra added destruction in your main deck. But this is pretty solid for a Dark Magician deck that doesn't play Magician Souls. So I'm not really going to do a lot on a side deck, mainly because of the fact that I don't know what his meta is. But we'll side deck cards like Evenly Matched that are just generic. And another good card that is going to be very strong for you going first is going to be stuff like Triple Tactics Talent, where if any of your search or your draw cards get negated, you can either use this to look at your opponent's hand or be able to dig deeper into more combo pieces. Then obviously you have cards like Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring that easily could be side decked for different matchups depending on what you're playing against. You could definitely side deck this card. And then you have cards like Droll and Lockbird as well. So we're going to move into the extra deck here. Like I said, the side deck is just really just kind of an example. This depends on whatever your meta game is at your locals. So we already have our Striker Dragon. We have our Sky Striker package. We're going to cut Amulet. We're going to cut Gorilla Dragon Knight, Dark Paladin, Quintet Magician, the Dark Magicians, Ebon High, and Naruto, just because we don't really have ways to be able to make those cards in this build. So we're going to play a second copy of Red Eye's Dark Dragoon, because our whole deck is based around summoning Dragoon, and to protect Dragoon with our Eternal Soul, paired with stuff like Circle and Return of the Red Eyes. And basically, after you get the first Dark Magician in the graveyard, you can essentially just loop Dark Magician every single turn. Like if you have the one Dark Magician with the Circle and the Eternal Soul, you can just keep linking the same Dark Magician into Link Spider every single turn to be able to have that banish interaction on your opponent's turn. This also could be M-Duck. Normally I play M-Duck if I'm playing Secrets of Dark Magic or Magicalized Fusion, so I have more dragons to be able to make Dragoon. But I'm just going to say just play 3 of this card, based purely on the fact that he has more attack for this build. We're also going to play a second Verde Anaconda, because it's going to come up in this build. I know he said he didn't have money for Magician Souls, and I know this is a little pricey, but I think that you can still get a Dragoon and 2 Verdes for like the same price, as just a little bit more like than 1 Magician Souls. I think they're 120 right now, so like Dragoon is like anywhere from 80 to 90. Verde is like pre-selling out of El Dorado for like 30 to 40, but I think it'll end up dropping. Obviously, if Verde Anaconda gets banned in January, this is going to change. But the other cards I would play, because the extra deck is so free, is you can play like Celine, and you can play Access. It doesn't really come up a lot, but if they ever let like your Verde live, they can't get over it. You could technically pay for the Red Eyes Fusion again, or you could like Link Climb up into Access Code Talker. We have 2 slots left, and we're going to make those Predaplant, Chimera, Rafflesia, and we're also going to make these Intis. Basically, this is just going to be for Dogmatica, because our extra deck is already so well catered to our strategy. We have these extra slots. They're just throwaway extra deck slots. So basically, if your Dogmatica opponent Maximuses you, you just send these 2 and you just punish them. Because you're going to Intis pop a card. You're probably going to end up forcing the Macabre, or you can just pop whatever is relevant at the time. And then during your standby phase, Chimera Rafflesia will immediately search you Red Eyes Fusion, which is going to immediately force the Mechaba to negate yet again if they have a spell card. And then if they do negate this, you've forced their most of their interactions with just 1 Red Eyes Fusion. So I know that in hindsight, this probably isn't exactly what he was looking for in a Dark Magician deck without souls, But I do feel like this is going to be the most competitive strategy without souls. Like I said, you could go trying the route of playing like fusion deployment with like super polymerization. Super poly is quite good right now, especially considering that you can fuse someone's Destroy Phoenix Enforcer with Dark Magician to make Dark Cavalry. This is also another card that I've been looking at for Super Poly. It's Guilty Gearfried, the Magical Steel Knight. He takes 2 warriors with different attributes. So when Zord Soul goes first and they end on Baroness plus Destroy Phoenix Enforcer, Super Poly just outs their whole board. And then this guy, if he's targeted, you can negate the effect and destroy a card on the field. And since you're always going to use 2 monsters on the field because of Super Poly, he can make a second attack in each battle phase. And if he battles an opponent's monster, you can banish a spell from your graveyard, and he gains attack equal to half its current half of its current defense. So this card's actually like insane if you're able to summon it. But this is the build that I think that I would go with without Magician Souls. I was playing a very similar build of Dark Magician in the beginning when I did not have Magician Souls, and this deck does exactly what it's built to do. It summons 2 monsters, it makes Dragoon, and it protects the Dragoon. It's also relevant that you're going to catch your opponent off guard with this build, because most of the time, decks that play Dragoon are only ever going to make Dragoon 1 time, and considering that essentially you could make Dragoon... You could technically make Dragoon 3 times, but we're just only going to play 2, because you could use the first 2 to get the 2 of these out of deck. Then on your opponent's end phase, you could Eternal Soul back a Dark Magician to then go use the last Red Eyes in deck with the Dark Magician on the field. That's a little situational, so I don't really think that we're going to be needing that. But yeah, I really like this interaction. Black Metal linked into Striker to search out the Darkness Metal, to make the Verde, to search out the Return of the Red Eyes. You've essentially gotten your normal Dark Magician setup just off of 1 card. So once again, that combo is you just normal summon this, you link into this. This effect searches you this. You special summon this by banishing this. Then you use this effect to revive this, link 2 into Verde, and then he is going to search you out, Return the Red Eyes. I actually never realize this card was not a hard once per turn. That's actually insane. And then all you need is a card like Dark Magical Circle to be able to have that interaction on your opponent's turn. You also are going to have cards like Allure, Engage, Hornet Drones. Even if you've used like Red Eyes Fusion, you can still engage, or you can still engage first for the Hornet Drones to try to bait out Ashes. And then if, obviously, you'll have this in your hand, and then you will have 2 cards to be able to banish for like Dark Magic Inheritance to be able to search out Dark Magical Circle or Eternal Soul. So definitely keep me updated with your progress on this deck, Volrin. Once again, I apologize if I'm butchering your name. And let me know how the deck is working for you. And I just want to say I appreciate you for reaching out to me on Twitter, being my first student in the Bond Between Teacher and Student series. And I want to do more decks like this. I want to do some crazy decks with Dark Magician. There's a lot of things that you can technically mix this with. But this is just the best build I think that you can play without having access to Magician Souls. So hope that you like it. Hope everyone learns some things from this. And this is essentially free deck building coaching, which is something that I've wanted to do to be able to give back to the community. So yeah, definitely I'm going to have the email address in the very end, so reach out to me with your decks. I'll get to them as quickly as I can. Obviously, if I get 20 or 30, it's going to take me a while to get to everyone, but as long as I'm getting them in moderation, I will definitely do them and feature them. And or if you want to just send me your deck list for me to review it and not even edit it, that's fine too. I would tell you what I would change in the deck, how I would play the deck, everything like that. So this is Mike from Dark Magical Gaming, signing out. Hope everyone enjoyed the video, and don't forget that the Dark Magician Journey Season 2 Episode 1 is going to drop on November the 20th. I'm very excited. It's going to be a very special episode. Thank you all for watching.